Hey there, cats and kitties. I am the Blues Man, Johnny Blues, and with this video, I'll be discussing episodes 7 through 12 of the anime series Shingeki no Kyojin, also known as Attack on Titan. My approach, as it was with part 1 of my coverage of the series, is to tackle every 6 episodes with a single discussion video to follow, and herein, so begins part 2. In the early going of the second stretch of 6 episodes, Mikasa is confronted with her own will to survive as she learns of the death of Eren as seen through the eyes of their mutual friend Armin. Armin is left in a state of shock as a result of this, and it is only Mikasa's coming to find him and find out where Eren is that brings him somewhat out of it. But with reckless abandon does Mikasa rebound from this news and lead a charge against the Titans surrounding their only source of gas, their HQ, which they need to enable an escape over the walls of the inner city. And were it not for the stunning revelation of a curious, screaming titan that beats and bludgeons and beheads other titans, who intervenes just as Mikasa is about to become lunch for one of them, she may never have gone on to witness another day. Seeing her finding her courage, even hearing Eren's words again, challenging her to survive, and more importantly, fight, was empowering and affirming to watch. And suddenly, the mystery of this new Titan, which just happens to coincide with the absence of Eren, reminds me of my earlier speculations in my series review part 1, relating this series to Evangelion, and Eren's father, who seemed to be up to something, hiding something, or both, being very much akin to the machinations of main character Shinji's father in that series. But I keep this thought on the back burner as Mikasa is eventually saved by Armin himself, and the team resolves, with continued haste, to make their way toward their HQ. Armin comes up with a plan of luring the new Titan toward the HQ as well, in the hopes of defeating all the wanton Titans surrounding it. And the plan works with thrilling success, although Potato Girl Sasha is very nearly eaten herself as they delve into the lower levels of their headquarters to access the cache of weapons and fuel that is stored there, which, as it turns out, is roving with 7 smaller Titans. But luckily Sasha saved by Mikasa. We also see a faltering sense of self on display by Jean, who feels himself unfit as a leader for a squad, which I really found intriguing as a few of these characters have these kind of self-doubts, yet they're showing tremendous abilities, Armin in particular showing himself to be something of a cunning strategist. But once all stores are replenished and they check up once again on the Titan Beater, as we'll call him, the team finds him being chewed apart by a horde of other Titans. Unlike those, though, he cannot seem to regenerate his limbs or flesh, and all looks lost. Even though Annie and a few of the others think the Titan Beater could be an ally, they never could have prepared for what developed before their very eyes, as a Titan who ate one of their comrades comes calling, and even without limbs does the Titan Beater take him and the rest down. Soon after, slumping to the ground and revealing, set in the back of the neck, the very weak spot for all Titans, the small form of an unconscious Eren, as if to suggest he's been piloting this Titan Beater all along. And I'm left utterly astounded, because while it wasn't exactly what I had in mind, I was closer to the mark with my speculations than I ever could have known. This only develops further as Eren is brought before their commander and is questioned as to whether or not he's human, and he has no idea what's going on, having thrived on instinct alone, all the while inhabiting the Titan Beater's facade. We're given insight into his perspective once he was swallowed by the Titan he saved Armin from, and eventually those interactions with his father, which we see more of here, revealing the significance of the key in the serum he injected into Eren, which calls back to the dream I discussed in part 1, which allows him to repel the commander's order to destroy he, Armin, and Mikasa, stunning everyone in the process with a transformation. This all left me worried for the trio, though, as now they were left facing the contemptuous and untrusting eyes of their fellow Recon Corps comrades. And as it coincided with the introduction of Levi, the Mikasa-esque leader of the elite faction of the Corps, I could only wonder as to whether he would turn out to be an ally or an enemy as well. Time will have to tell. But who really stood out at that point was Armin, who had all along been having a crisis of self along similar lines to Jean. He doubted his own capabilities, yet rose up and met the challenge of the orders to fire on he, Eren, and Mikasa, defending their position and assuring with vigilance that Eren could use his ability to ensure their retaking the lost sectors of their cities. Even this was nearly not enough to bring them through to another day, however, without the intervention of their commander in training and the lead commander of the entirety of the Southern Territories, Pixis, who, once he'd shown up on the scene, not only ceased all hostilities toward the trio, but also struck up a deal with Eren to give utilizing his powers to close up a hole in one of the city gates a shot, to which Eren agreed, while also resolving to find out whatever secrets his father kept hidden in the basement of their home. Things really take an interesting turn, though, as a plague of fear is set awash and ever unfolding increasingly over the different factions who are meant to fight and defend against the Titans. Some would even rather die by their own hand, which in an extreme sense is highly understandable. But what I found really fascinating was the legend Pixis relates to Eren about how it was a school of thought ages past, that if humanity had a much larger threat to contend with, it might provoke a level of unity amongst the various and divided mankind. This had still, even after centuries of battle against the Titans, failed to take shape enough for everyone to be equal. But some intriguing insight and commentary was to be found there, perhaps suggesting the Titans were a creation of mankind all along. And the many varied ways humanity can set itself apart from each other is even on display between Eren and Mikasa, who he always, probably inadvertently, acts like a dick toward, in answer to her incessant desire to be with him and protect him at all times. Even as Eren is prepared to transform himself into the Titan Beater once again, in the hopes of moving a boulder to block the path of the Titans entering a vital wall, he is reminded of what this call to action could cost, and how it's all riding on him. This is a concept he seems explicitly aware of, and so it is a sense of sudden and wide-eyed shock after he successfully becomes the Titan Beater once again that he twists around and faces Mikasa and launches his Gigantor fist at her. For all intents and purposes, everything suddenly went horribly wrong. Eren seemed to be faced with a delusion of being back home, with his mother alive and well, and he himself sullen under a veil of sleepiness. When a warning signal of crimson reigns high in answer to this, Armin races to the scene to find out what happened, as Eren's Titan Beater managed to somewhat comically knock himself out when trying to hit Mikasa. And so we're left with the cliffhanger of Armin's words just barely making it to Eren within the massive smoking Titan Beater husk. He asks Eren why it was that he ever wished to see the outside world, which was held at such a distance beyond the walls of their city. And curiously do they briefly focus on Eren's father's expression, as if to suggest that perhaps his father used his desire to see fit to some end, perhaps the very building of this one true force that is able to stand toe-to-toe with the rest of the Titans. As we move on from here, and I sit idly by waiting for the next 6 episodes, 13 to 18 respectively, I find myself wondering whether Eren will be able to control this Titan Beater again, and what will happen when eventually the Colossal or Armored Titans reappear. I'll also be wondering how long it'll be before Eren makes it to uncovering his father's secrets, and whether he and Mikasa will perhaps find themselves romantically involved or not in the future. This series seems to have surprises ready and waiting around every corner, and I'm eager to see where it goes from here. And I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments below just how stunned by every shock and wonder thus far you've been, and what predictions or speculations you might have for the future. And otherwise, that'll be it for me on this one. Be sure to stay tuned for my eventual Attack on Titans series review part 3 in a little more than a few weeks' time, and until then, I'll catch you all later. Peace.